The sound of heavy rain drowned the noise of the city that night. But inside Joy's sitting room, another kind of storm was raging. The one that came through her phone. Her hands shook as she stared at the screen. The video kept playing over and over. It was her husband, David. In the clip, David sat in a restaurant with another woman, his arm wrapped around her shoulder. His deep laugh filled the background as the woman kissed him boldly on the cheek. The caption under the post read, "Meet the contractor who dumped his wife after making it big. Lagos's new lover boy." Joy's phone buzzed with new messages. Neighbors, friends, even church members were forwarding the video. Each notification felt like a knife in her chest. Her 7-year-old son, Junior, peeked from the corner of the room, holding his school assignment book. "Mummy, why are you crying again?" Joy quickly wiped her tears. "Nothing, my baby. Go inside, okay?" But the pain refused to stay hidden. Her husband, the same man who once couldn't afford transport to interviews, now wanted to divorce her. Just a year ago, they had nothing. She sold oranges by the roadside, carried trays in the market, and cooked rice in nylon bags for construction workers just to feed her family. David had been a dreamer then, jobless but full of promises. "Joy," he used to say, "one day I'll make it big and you'll never suffer again." She believed him. She prayed for him. She even used her small business savings to print his CV and help him buy new shoes for interviews. But when David finally got a job with a big construction company and started earning well, things changed, fast. He came home one night smelling of new perfume and driving a car she didn't know he could afford. Joy ran outside, shocked and proud. "David, you bought a car?" she asked, smiling. But instead of smiling back, he frowned. "Don't shout, Joy. People will think you've never seen one before." That was the first sting. Then came the late nights, the excuses, the whispers, and now the video. Joy dropped her phone and covered her face. Her chest felt tight. "God, what did I do wrong?" Her friend Ngozi knocked and entered without waiting for permission. She was panting from the rain. "Joy, have you seen the video?" she asked. Joy nodded silently. Ngozi sighed and sat beside her. "My sister, I warned you. That man has changed. He now follows women who only want his money." Joy sniffled. "But why? I stood by him when he had nothing." "When people laughed at us." Ngozi held her hand. "Men forget too quickly when money enters. You must be strong. Don't let him destroy you." Joy's phone rang. It was David. Her heart jumped. She hesitated, then answered. "Hello?" David's voice came cold and sharp. "Joy, I saw that video. Stop embarrassing me." "Embarrassing you?" Joy's voice trembled. "You're the one holding another woman, David." "It's not what you think," he snapped. "And by the way, I've made up my mind. I'm filing for divorce." Joy froze. "David, after everything we've been through." "I've moved on. I'll send someone with the papers tomorrow." The call ended. Joy stood still for a long time, her breath heavy and broken. Ngozi whispered her name, but she didn't respond. At that moment she felt her world collapse. But deep inside, a quiet fire began to burn. Small, almost invisible, but real. The next day, neighbors gathered outside, pretending not to gossip. They whispered when Joy walked past, carrying Junior's lunchbox to school. "See her," one woman said. "Her husband left her after becoming rich." Poor thing. Joy kept walking. Her head was bowed, but her spirit refused to break. She decided that if David could move on, so could she. She didn't know how yet, but she would. That night, when Junior was asleep, she opened her small box of savings. $42,000, all she had left. She looked at it for a long time, then whispered, "I'll start again." She didn't know that this decision, this one quiet moment of courage, would soon shake David's world to its core. Because while he was busy chasing other women, Joy was about to build something that would change her life forever. But before that happened, something unexpected came, something that would make David's arrogance crash faster than she could ever imagine. The next morning, a loud knock came on Joy's door. She opened it and gasped. Standing there was David's secretary, soaked from the rain, holding a brown envelope with trembling hands. "Madam Joy," she said quietly, "please don't be angry, but you need to see this." She handed over the envelope. Joy opened it slowly, and what she saw inside made her knees weak. It wasn't divorce papers, it was something far more shocking. Joy's heart raced as she unfolded the papers inside the brown envelope. Her hands trembled so much that the pages almost slipped to the floor. The first sheet carried the bold title, "Termination Letter, David Okafor." Her eyes widened. She blinked twice, not sure if she was reading it correctly. "Termination," she whispered. The secretary, a young woman named Rita, nodded sadly. "Yes, Ma. He was fired this morning. The management said his behavior has brought shame to the company." Joy looked up slowly. "His behavior?" Rita swallowed hard. "He tried to flirt with the wife of one of our biggest clients, Ma. It turned into a scandal. The man reported it to the board. He's been banned from all company properties." For a moment, Joy didn't know whether to cry or laugh. She had begged David to change, to stop running after women. But he called her old-fashioned. Now karma had arrived, dressed in a termination letter. "Please, Ma," Rita continued softly, "don't tell him I came here. He's been shouting at everyone. He might even think I leaked the news." Joy nodded quietly, her eyes still fixed on the paper. "Thank you, Rita. You did the right thing." As Rita left, Joy sat down slowly on the old wooden chair. She took a deep breath, then exhaled sharply. For the first time in months, she didn't feel pain. She felt calm. "God," she whispered, "you truly fight for the silent ones." That evening, David called. His voice was different, shaky and tired. "Joy." Joy didn't reply. She waited. "I know you've heard. Please, I need to talk to you." "About what?" she asked flatly. "About us." "I was wrong, Joy. I didn't mean all the things I said. I lost everything, Joy. My job, my friends, my respect. Please let me come home." Joy closed her eyes. Her heart wanted to pity him, but her mind reminded her of every insult, every lonely night, every tear. "David," she said calmly, "you already came home to your decisions." There was silence on the line. Then David said, "So you won't forgive me?" Joy's voice shook, but stayed firm. "Forgiveness is not the same as forgetting, David. You forgot me long before I learned to move on." She hung up. Days passed. David's world continued to crumble. The luxury car was repossessed. His friends stopped answering his calls. Even the woman from the viral video had blocked him. He moved into a small guest house at the edge of the city, the same kind of place Joy once begged him to avoid. Meanwhile, Joy's small food business began to grow. She started cooking for offices, then got invited to cater for events. Her jollof rice became famous in their area, rich, smoky, and unforgettable. One afternoon, while she was serving at a corporate event, a woman in a neat Ankara suit approached her. "Are you the owner of Joy's Kitchen?" "Yes, Ma." The woman smiled warmly. "I'm Mrs. Kemi from City Mall. We'd like to give you a space for your restaurant. We've tasted your food. Even our manager won't stop talking about it." Joy was speechless. "A restaurant?" "Yes. We'll help with the setup. You'll pay later. Just bring your brand." Tears filled Joy's eyes. "Thank you, Ma. Thank you." That night she danced around her small room, holding Junior in her arms. "We did it, my son. We did it." Junior giggled. "Mummy, are we rich now?" Joy smiled. "Not yet, but we will be. Because we never gave up." A month later, Joy's kitchen opened officially inside the mall. The smell of fried plantain and grilled chicken filled the air. Customers lined up. Photos of her food spread across social media. Her story, the woman whose husband left her but she rose again, became an inspiration to many. But just as life started smiling on her, a familiar figure appeared at the entrance one busy afternoon. It was David. He looked completely different, thin, rough, and broken. His clothes were wrinkled, and his eyes carried the weight of regret. The staff whispered as he walked toward Joy's counter. Joy froze when she saw him. She couldn't believe how much he had changed. "Joy," he said softly, "you look beautiful." Joy turned to her cashier. "Please handle the counter for a minute." She led David outside. He stood under the mall's bright lights, staring at her like he was seeing her for the first time. "I've been trying to reach you," he said. "I'm sorry, Joy. I destroyed everything. Our home, our love, your trust." Joy crossed her arms. "You also destroyed yourself, David, but maybe this is how you'll learn." He dropped to his knees right there in the parking lot. "Please, Joy, just give me another chance. I'll change. I'll start over." People began to watch. Some took out their phones, whispering, "Isn't that the same David from the viral video?" Joy's heart pounded. Here he was, the man who had humiliated her, now begging in public. She wanted to forgive him, but then she remembered how he had once called her just a roadside woman. Now the roadside woman had built her own brand. Joy looked down at him, tears in her eyes, not from pain anymore, but strength. "David," she said slowly, "for years I never picked myself first. I made you my world, and you broke it. But being your wife taught me one thing, to finally invest in myself." She stepped back. "You're not worth my sacrifice anymore." David's lips trembled. "Please, Joy." But before he could finish, a black SUV pulled up beside them. The driver stepped out. "Madam Joy," he said respectfully, "your TV interview is in 10 minutes. David's face fell. "Interview?" Joy nodded. "Yes, people now want to hear my story." As she walked away, David stood there, defeated, surrounded by people recording the moment that would soon go viral again. Only this time, the caption would read, "The same man who left his wife after getting rich, now kneeling for her forgiveness." But what none of them knew was that this was only the beginning, because that video would soon explode online and bring an even bigger twist no one saw coming. By the next morning, everyone was talking about it. The video had gone viral. It was titled, "He wanted to divorce his wife after he became rich. Now look who's begging." The clip showed David kneeling on the ground in front of Joy's kitchen, crying and begging for forgiveness, while Joy stood tall in her apron, looking calm and unbothered. Within hours, the video spread across Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and WhatsApp. Bloggers reposted it with captions like "Tables turned," "From gold to dust," and "A strong woman's revenge without violence." At first, Joy didn't even know the video was trending. She was busy serving customers, smiling as her restaurant filled with people. Then her assistant Ada ran to her excitedly. "Madam Joy, you're famous, oh, you're on every blog." Joy frowned in confusion. "What do you mean?" Ada handed her a phone. "Look." Joy looked down and froze. The video was everywhere. Millions of views, thousands of comments. Some people were laughing at David. "See the mighty fallen. This man dumped his wife. Now look at him." Others were praising Joy, queen energy. She built herself instead of breaking down. This is what grace looks like. Joy covered her mouth, overwhelmed. Oh my God. For a second, she didn't know whether to smile or cry. The whole world now knew her story, and they were on her side. That evening, Joy sat by her window, scrolling through the comments. Junior was asleep, and the city lights twinkled outside. Her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. "Good evening. Is this Mrs. Joy Okafor?" A man's calm voice asked. "Yes. Who is this?" "This is Michael Ease, a producer with Sunrise TV. We saw the viral video and we'd like to feature you on our show. It's called Women Who Rise. Would you be interested?" Joy blinked. "Me? On TV?" "Yes. Your story is powerful. It's inspiring people. We'll pay for your appearance and transportation. Please, say yes." Joy smiled, her voice trembling. Yes, I'll do it." "Excellent," Michael said warmly. "We'll send you the details tomorrow." After the call, Joy sat in silence for a while. She looked around her small but beautiful apartment. The walls had been repainted, the curtains new. Even the smell of success felt different. She thought about David, where he might be, how he must be feeling watching her shine. And indeed, far across the city, David was watching. He sat in a cheap bar, surrounded by empty bottles of beer and noise. His phone buzzed with notifications, but every single one made him sink deeper into shame. There it was, his own face, trending everywhere. His once proud smile now twisted into regret as people mocked him in the comments. He wanted divorce. Now he's divorced and desperate. If pride was a person, it would be this man. Next time, love your wife before it's too late. David put down his phone and rubbed his face. His hands trembled. He had lost everything: his job, his home, his respect, his wife. The same people who used to shake his hand now refused to sit beside him. He tried calling Joy again. She didn't answer. He sent a message. "Please, Joy, I know I failed you, but can I just see Junior? I miss him." Joy read it hours later but didn't reply. Her heart softened for a second, but then she remembered how he had once shouted at her in front of the same child, saying, "You and this boy are the reason I can't live my life." She locked her phone and turned off the lights. The next day was bright and full of noise at Sunrise TV. Joy sat in the makeup chair, looking at her reflection. The makeup artist smiled. "You're a natural beauty, Ma. No wonder the video went viral." Joy chuckled softly. "I didn't plan for any of this." The producer, Michael, came in with a cheerful grin. "We're ready for you, Mrs. Joy. Remember, just be yourself. Speak from the heart." The camera lights came on. The red recording light blinked. The host, a young woman named Chica, smiled at her. "Good morning, viewers. Today on Women Who Rise, we bring you a powerful story. A woman who was left by her husband after he became rich, but who rose above pain and built her own empire. Please welcome Mrs. Joy Okafor." Applause filled the studio. Joy smiled shyly. "Thank you for having me." Chica leaned forward. "Joy, millions of people watched that video. Tell us, how did you feel seeing your husband kneel after everything?" Joy looked straight at the camera, her voice steady. "At first, I felt angry. Then I realized it wasn't about revenge, it was about strength. I learned that sometimes losing someone who disrespects you is not a loss, it's freedom." The audience clapped loudly. Back in the bar, David sat watching the same show on an old TV. His eyes glistened as he heard Joy's words. He touched the screen lightly, whispering, "Joy, I'm sorry." But the bartender turned up the volume as Joy continued. "I don't hate him," she said softly. "In fact, I thank him. Because if he hadn't left, I might never have found myself. I built my business not out of revenge, but out of self-respect." David's throat tightened. He put his face in his hands and wept silently. Outside, a few passers-by stopped at the bar window, recognizing him. "Isn't that the man in the video?" one whispered. "He's right there." David looked up, realizing the crowd was pointing at him. He grabbed his phone and hurried out the back door, embarrassed. The shame followed him everywhere. By the time Joy got home that evening, her phone was filled with messages, not of pity, but of admiration. Messages like, "Your story changed my life." "I'm leaving my abusive husband today. Thank you, Joy." "I'm starting my own small business. You inspired me." Joy smiled through tears. Her story was healing others, something she never planned, but deeply needed. She sat beside Junior's bed and watched him sleep. "My son," she whispered, "maybe God allowed this to happen so we could shine." But as she spoke, a new notification popped up on her phone. Unknown number. "Joy, please, I need to see you. It's about something important." David. She stared at the message for a long time. Should she reply? Should she ignore it? Part of her wanted peace, but another part of her, the one still wounded, whispered, "Be careful." She didn't know that meeting him again would open an even deeper secret, something that would make everything she thought she knew about her marriage and herself change forever. The next morning came with a strange calm. The early Lagos sun cut through Joy's white curtains, and the smell of fried yam filled the kitchen as she cooked for Junior before school. But even as she smiled at her son's chatter, her mind was far away, on the message she had received the night before. "Joy, please, I need to see you. It's about something important." David. She had ignored it then, but now, as she watched the sunlight touch the photo of their old family portrait on the wall, her heart tugged. "Should I see him?" she whispered under her breath. "Mummy," Junior called, "who are you talking to?" She smiled faintly. "Nobody, my dear. Eat your food." But inside, her heart battled between caution and curiosity. Around noon, as she arranged supplies in the restaurant storeroom, her phone buzzed again. This time a voice note from David. His voice cracked with pain. "Joy, please. I know you have no reason to believe me, but I'm sick. I need to talk to you in person. I swear it's not a trick. Just give me one chance." Joy froze. Her breath hitched. Sick. For a long moment, she just stood there, her heart pounding. She replayed the message again and again. The voice didn't sound like the proud man she once knew. It sounded broken, weak, desperate. Her hands trembled as she replied, "Where are you?" Within minutes, his message came through. "Old Sunshine Lodge, Yaba. Please come before evening." By 5 p.m., Joy stood before the small, run-down building. The air smelled of damp wood and sadness. The signboard was faded and the paint peeled off the walls. She hesitated at the entrance, holding her bag tightly. Part of her wanted to turn back, to protect her peace. But something deeper told her to go in. Room 7. She knocked lightly. "Come in," a faint voice replied. Joy pushed open the door. The sight before her made her heart sink. David sat on a broken chair beside a small bed. He was thinner than before, his face hollow, his eyes sunken, his once fine shirt faded and wrinkled. He looked up slowly, forcing a weak smile. "You came." Joy stepped closer. "What happened to you?" David sighed. "Life happened. I thought I was unstoppable. I thought money would fix everything. But now, I can barely afford medicine." Joy's lips parted in shock. "Medicine? You're sick?" He nodded slowly. "The doctor says I have a kidney problem. It started when I began drinking too much after losing my job. I ignored it, until it got worse." Joy's knees felt weak. She sat on the edge of the bed, speechless. "Joy," he continued softly, "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. But I needed to see you. Not to beg for money, not to make you pity me, but to say thank you." She frowned. "Thank you?" "Yes." He looked into her eyes, his voice trembling. "You were the only person who ever truly loved me. When I had nothing, you stayed. When I became someone, I threw you away. And now that I've fallen, I realize you were my blessing." Tears welled in Joy's eyes, but she stayed silent. "I just wanted to see you before—" He paused, coughing lightly. "Before it's too late." "Don't say that," she said quickly. "You'll be fine." David gave a weak smile. "You still care." "I'm not made of stone, David. You hurt me, but I'm not your enemy." He chuckled faintly. "That's what makes you different." For a while silence filled the room, broken only by the ticking of a small wall clock. When Joy finally stood up to leave, David reached for something under his pillow. A folded paper. "What's this?" she asked. "It's the title deed of a small land I bought years ago in your name. I wanted to build something for you back then, but I got carried away by greed. Please, take it." Joy hesitated. "David, I can't—" "Please," he interrupted gently. "Let me do one right thing before I go." She slowly took the paper. "Thank you." He smiled weakly. "You deserve much more than I ever gave." Then he looked away, his voice breaking. If I don't make it, please tell Junior I'm sorry for not being the father he deserved." Joy's throat tightened. "Don't talk like that. You'll live." David didn't reply. He only nodded, tears glistening in his eyes. As Joy walked out of the lodge, the cool evening breeze hit her face. She stopped for a moment outside, clutching the paper tightly. Memories of their early struggles flashed before her, their laughter, their dreams, the nights they prayed together for success. Now here they were, one risen, one fallen. "God," she whispered, "why does life turn like this?" But before she could step into her car, a young boy ran up to her panting. "Madam, are you Madam Joy?" "Yes," she said quickly, alarmed. The boy's face was pale. "Please come quickly. That man you just left, he collapsed." Joy's heart stopped. "What?" The boy pointed back toward the lodge. "He's not moving." Without thinking, Joy dropped her bag and ran back inside, her sandals slapping against the wet floor. She burst into room 7 and froze. David lay motionless on the bed, eyes half open, his hand still clutching the photo of their family. "David!" she screamed, rushing to him. "David, please, wake up!" But he didn't move. Her tears fell like rain as she shook him again and again. "Please, not like this. Not now." People began to gather at the door, whispering. Joy's voice broke through the noise. "Somebody call a doctor, please." But deep down, her trembling hands knew the truth. David was gone. And in that moment, standing in that small, dim room, Joy realized something far greater was about to happen. Because what happened next, just days after his death, would turn the video titled into something the entire country would talk about again. But for a shocking new reason. The morning after David's death felt unreal. Joy sat quietly in her living room, her eyes fixed on the same family photo she once wanted to tear apart. It was now the only thing left of the man she had loved, hated, and somehow forgiven all at once. Her phone buzzed non-stop. News had spread fast again. Viral video man dies mysteriously after begging ex-wife. Some bloggers wrote lies, some begged her for interviews, but Joy stayed silent. She wasn't angry anymore, just tired of fame, of pity, of being a symbol of strength when all she wanted was peace. Junior sat beside her, head on her lap. "Mummy, where is Daddy now?" Joy swallowed hard. "He's resting, my love." "He's with God. Will he come back?" She smiled sadly. "Not the way we think, but he'll always watch over us." Junior nodded quietly, trusting her words. 2 days later, Joy attended the small burial. It wasn't grand, just a quiet service under the trees at the local cemetery. No fancy cars, no fake friends, no applause. Just the truth. Joy stood beside the coffin, wearing a simple white gown. As the pastor prayed, she closed her eyes, whispering to herself, "I forgive you, David." truly. A gentle wind brushed her face, and for a strange moment she felt peace, like he had heard her. Weeks passed, life returned to rhythm. Joy's kitchen became busier than ever. People from all walks of life came not just for the food, but for the story behind the woman who refused to give up. Her TV interview replayed across channels, and companies began inviting her to speak at women's events. They called her the woman who rose twice. But the biggest surprise came one afternoon when she received a call from a lawyer. "Good afternoon, Madam Joy. I'm calling regarding Mr. David Okafor's estate." Joy's heart skipped. Estate? But he had nothing. The lawyer chuckled softly. "That's what you think. Before his death, he had one last active contract account. It was frozen during his termination. He listed you and Junior as beneficiaries." Joy was silent. "How much?" she finally asked. "About N48 million, Ma." Her mouth fell open. 48 what? "Yes, Ma. He must have submitted the document months before losing his job. It's now legally yours and your son's." Tears filled her eyes as she whispered, "Thank you, David. Even from the grave. You finally did right." The following week, Joy reopened Joy's kitchen after a short break. But this time the restaurant had a new wing, a bright section with the sign, "David's Corner for Second Chances." It became a small foundation inside her business, where she offered free meals to widows, single mothers, and struggling men trying to rebuild their lives. When reporters asked her why she named it after the same man who hurt her, she smiled and said, "Because forgiveness is freedom. David's story reminds me that people can fall and still be remembered with grace." Months later, Joy was invited to a national award ceremony for outstanding women entrepreneurs. She walked on stage in a blue gown, confident and glowing. As the crowd clapped, the presenter read her citation, "For turning pain into purpose, rejection into redemption, and heartbreak into hope, this year's Inspiration Award goes to Mrs. Joy Okafor." The hall erupted in applause. Joy smiled, holding the plaque. "Thank you," she said, her voice steady but emotional. "This award is not for me alone. It's for every woman who ever thought her story ended with heartbreak. You can rise again, stronger, wiser, and happier." The cameras flashed. Somewhere deep inside, she felt David's presence, not as a ghost, but as a reminder that life's pain can indeed lead to purpose. That night, back home, she tucked Junior into bed. "Mummy," he murmured sleepily, "do you still miss Daddy?" Joy smiled softly, brushing his hair. "Sometimes, but missing someone doesn't mean you stop moving forward." He smiled. "You're strong, Mummy." She kissed his forehead. "I learned from life, my dear. And from your father, too." She turned off the light and stood by the window, gazing at the stars. The city lights shimmered below, and the wind carried the quiet hum of Lagos, noisy, alive, and full of stories like hers. Joy whispered to herself, "He wanted to divorce me when he became rich. But in the end, he wished he had stayed. This is so not through revenge, but through grace." And for the first time in a long while, Joy laughed softly, not because life was perfect, but because she had finally found peace. Please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more videos.